Good morning, Dan and Amy. We are coming to you live this morning from Sproveri's Custom Counters in scenic Addison, Illinois. This is it's part of our AM 560 Signature Bank Business Tour.
Yeah, it's nice here.
Back in DuPage County, where it is very nice.
They focus on custom countertops and kitchens and showers. And did you check out the shower in the showroom there?
Yeah, it's all very nice products.
It's very fancy.
Yes, it is.
Top of the line.
I know you're trying to wrangle a deal during commercial breaks for some new flooring, countertops.
Well, it's this new vinyl flooring that they sell here that's top of the line. Now, you don't think of vinyl flooring, but that's what all the kiddies are putting in their basement these days. Well, and I want to get a piece of the pie.
Sure, you got to keep up with the Joneses. We'll talk to Chuck Sproveri, the head of this whole operation, at the bottom of the hour. But now let's talk, this is a perfect segue. Let's talk a little economics. Amid all the Flynn controversy, there are other important matters to discuss, including the economic vitality of the United States of America. And to help us do that, we're joined again by our friend Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist, chief economist for the Heritage Foundation, and Donald Trump economic advisor. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So I want to start with something that's not getting as much attention because of all the controversies, and that's a move in both chambers, various tactical approaches to eliminate the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, to repeal Dodd-Frank, the import and impact of doing just that before the year is out.
Yeah, well, let me just say something about the Consumer Financial Protection Board, because I was in one of the transition meetings, and we were talking about that board, and it's obviously something we want to get rid of. I mean, there are already about 8 Consumer Financial Protection agencies in the federal government. We didn't need this one. So anyway, we were talking about this agency, and I asked the guy who was detailed over there, I said, well, just how big is this agency? Because for those who don't know, this was created by Dodd-Frank, and it was created about, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, to this gentleman, how many people work at the Consumer Financial Protection Board? And he said 15. And I thought, oh, well, 15, that's not so many. He said, no, Steve, you misunderstood me. I said 1,500. Can you believe that? There are 1,500 people working at the Consumer Financial Protection Board. Lord knows what they do. And by the way, they want to build a $30 million new building in Washington, D.C. But that's how these agencies proliferate and grow.
And name it after Senator Elizabeth Warren.
We have to get rid of it. It's been used basically just to harass businesses, and it's had a very little impact on helping stave off the next financial crisis. So it has to go, and that's one of the dozens and dozens of agencies that should be eliminated because it's duplicative and so on. Now, on the tax cut, that's a much, much bigger issue. And Larry Kudlow and I are both kind of have seen coming out of our ears. As you know, we helped write the Trump tax plan during the campaign. And for some reason, this tax cut, Dan, has been put on the back burner, and I don't understand the logic of it. The economy needs to pick me up. I think investors are getting a little fidgety and nervous that whether this is going to happen or not, whether it's a priority. Now, Trump said last week that he's going to come up with something marvelous or something like that.
Yeah, right. When he was meeting with airline CEOs.
I haven't seen the more Kudlow Trump 2.0 version of the tax bill. I hope it's not much different from what we came up with, but it's got to be done quickly. I mean, the idea of waiting till July, August, September, I think makes it very dubious that will happen at all.
Well, can't you put some fire under his feet and get him going? You have a direct channel to Donald Trump.
Say again?
You have a direct channel to Donald Trump. Can you convince him to get on this?
I don't know about that. I mean, I used to, not so much anymore. I mean, the big story of this White House is this guy, Gary Cohn, who's the head of the National
Goldman
Economic
Sachs.
Council. Really, consolidated power. He's all economic information Trump goes through Cohn. If you read the Wall Street Journal yesterday, Cohn is no fan of mine or fan of Larry because we're too ideological. We're too supply side, I guess. So, no, I don't have that direct channel to Trump that I used to have. And if I did have the direct channel, I'd say, Donald, let me do this. Let me get this tax cut passed for you. I know how to do it. We can get it through. We can deal with Paul Ryan in the House. We can deal with, Mitch McConnell and Orrin Hatch, who runs the Senate Finance Committee. We can get this thing done. We outlined in the Wall Street Journal about 10 days ago how to get it done, but so far nobody seems to be paying much attention.
Yeah, and including among your ranks of those banging on the Trump administration to move this along is Steve Forbes as well. Gary
Yeah.
Cohn, he's Goldman Sachs guy, right?
He's a Goldman Sachs guy.
Uh, here we go again.
I really don't have anything to say about it because I never even met the guy. I was involved with the campaign. We did a lot of the economic stuff. I'd never seen him in any of the meetings. And then, 2 weeks after the election, Trump announced, I think he was a friend of Jared's, his son-in-law, and they had a love affair. And the next thing you know, Gary Cohn, who's a Democrat, was named the NEC director. Look, I'm not here to attack Gary Cohn. I'm just here to say, we've got to get this thing done. We've got to put it on the front burner. What's happened is that Obamacare repeal, which obviously is incredibly important, has gotten snagged, and it's delayed everything else. And my point is, do both. Do Obamacare repeal, but on the second track, and running at the same time, let's go going on this tax cut. Now, what I proposed, and Larry and Steve Forbes agree with this, is why don't we just do the business tax cut? We all know our business tax cut is an abomination. Business tax system is an abomination. Highest tax rates in the world. It's not working. It's leading companies to leave. Get the business tax rate down to 15-20%, and by the way, that would be for corporations and for small businesses. Every one of the 26 million small businesses in the country. The guy who's driving the truck down the Edens Highway right now, you're going to get if you're around that company, you're going to get a tax cut. Those are the employers in this country, and they need some relief. To do that now, and then we can talk about fixing the individual tax system in stage 2.
So let's talk about the politics a little bit because these are always political will challenges. So what role does Steve Mnuchin, the newly confirmed Treasury Secretary, play in all this?
Well, that's a great question, too, because what's happened is the Democrats are in not just a loyal opposition, they're in obstruction mode. They're trying to obstruct everything that Trump is doing. And I think it's quite unpatriotic, actually. I mean, it's one thing to be in opposition, to vote no against stuff, but by not, Mnuchin was just confirmed yesterday or the day before. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, why is it half of his cabinet is not even confirmed yet? How can they hit the ground running when they don't have the people in place because the Democrats in the Senate won't let it happen? I mean, this is unprecedented, and they're gumming up the system intentionally. They want Trump to fail. And they're doing everything possible to make him fail. And as I said, that's not good governance. I mean, give the guy a chance. Let him get some of his agenda passed. You can vote against it, but to prevent any of it from even coming up for a vote because he doesn't have his people in place. Look, the economy. I think you asked how's the economy. I think it's fragile. I think it needs a pick me up, and this tax cut will do a lot to do that, but it's been stalled.
Speaking of the cabinet changing, what is your reaction to Lieutenant or General Michael Flynn resigning as NSA?
I don't do foreign policy, so I don't have a lot to say about that. I do think I'm wondering why it is that this is a more broad statement. Why is it that Donald Trump and the Republicans, this administration seems to be closing up to the Russians? I just don't get it. I mean, I'm an old Reagan Cold Warrior. We called the Soviet Union the evil empire, and it is still an evil empire. I mean, look, Putin is a bad guy. This is not our friend. So I don't quite get the strategy. I mean, I understand they're trying to play Russia and China off against each other, but to pretend that somehow Russia is going to behave itself, when have they ever done that?
Going back to Gary Cohn, so I want to put this question to you because I know we share the same suspicion. Are you concerned at all with this being slow walk, the tax reform, the cutting of structural taxes, that you're starting to see the big banks, the big amoral banks like a Goldman Sachs do what they do, which is seize control and prevent reform? Are you afraid that could happen in the Trump administration?
You mean that the Democrats will prevent it, or the Cohn will prevent it?
No, I'm talking about the men of always from Goldman Sachs.
Oh, the Goldman Sachs team. We'll see. I mean, look, their job is to get this tax cut done. So I'm not going to prejudge them, but I'll say this: if they don't get the tax cut done, then they failed their job because this is, that's the job of this Treasury Secretary. And I'm friends with Steve Mnuchin. I never really answered your question about him. I think he's a fine man. I think he's very smart. I think he wants to get this done. But look, yeah, you're right. these Goldman people, they're so smart, they're so savvy. Well, they got to get this done. That's why they were hired, to get the tax cut done and get as good a tax cut as we possibly can. And by the way, I left out the repatriation of the foreign capital. We got to get that money returned to the United States. It's $1 trillion abroad. Think about that. If we bring $1 trillion back home from countries around the world, that's a huge stimulus to the economy. So the Goldman people are on trial here, and I hope they succeed.
Oh, yeah.
I hope they deliver soon. And the other thing is, because I know a lot of people listening to the show are investors and businessmen and women, we got to make it retroactive to February 1st, so that people can start making decisions now about how they're going to invest and building factories and expanding their business. And once they realize that they're going to get this tax cut, then I think the economy shifts into a higher gear.
Yeah, as long as we don't get John Corzine redux from Gary Cohn. All right, he is Steve Moore. He's the Wall Street.
Don't forget Paulson.
Yeah, well, the example.
Paulson was the one who gave us the bailout. First of all, he was the Treasury Secretary with the financial crisis.
Too big to fail, right?
Sleep at the switch, and then he's the one who gave us the bank bailouts.
Well, I mean, this is.
He was the one who said we need to ruin capitalism to save it.
Well, this is our agreed upon point that there are many examples from the same place, and so it'd be nice if the same mistakes weren't made with the same personnel. He is Steve Moore, Chief Economist at the Heritage Foundation, Trump Economic Advisor, hopefully a more influential one in the coming weeks. Steve Moore, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great week. See you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.